Welcome back to the channel, Crypto Trend Trader, with a quick update on Bitcoin. Yeah, we got that bounce up to the 618 exactly and sold off. That was quite a powerful move to the upside, and I'm sure a lot of people got trapped in that position. Since then, on Bitcoin alone, we have sold off 12%. I did get my short order in, basically my take profit position, literally right at the absolute top. And you will notice that, as we discussed yesterday, that so far that exact line that I had pointed out, the one that I decided I was going to reveal to you guys, that purple line, which is right here, along with the top of our purple channel, which I pointed out as well, along as the 618 of the golden zone for the fib that we pulled from swing high to swing low. All three of those came into line right where we drew that red circle, aka our take profit or short zone. I was potentially expecting a move as high as the 200s, but actually we can go ahead and just get straight into that, because what I'm looking at right here is essentially like two different ways I can break down like this price action based on like Elliott wave and a couple other things. Typically what you would do is you would take your swing low, and then you would essentially have like this would be like your first wave technically, but it's kind of like a weird situation how it's set up right now. So here, let me just kind of show you. If we take the swing low to swing high, which is like right here to right here for the pullback, that's going to come back down to below the 618. So this would be our 618. We came below the 618, okay, and then we bounce. So then we would take our, that would be like essentially like the first wave. And then some people were saying like this was the second wave, but that's not possible. Well, the second's a retracement, but the second thrust. So we're going to take from the bottom here, like below the 618, and then we're going to take that up to the top of our retracement that we just had basically, and I'm going to turn that one green. Okay, so that's our green one now. So when we came up to the top, as soon as we came down to 236, we sold off, basically came down and confirmed it on like this hanging man candle right here, which that's like an indecision candle, which usually means like whatever's happening is like probably going to continue to happen. If you're at like the potential top of a trend and like all of a sudden you get like an indecision candle, people are going to take that as like, basically like confirmation from the market that like we're running out of steam, because it's like indecision at the top of a trend. Like you would expect, obviously, like if you're going to get continuation to like continue like powerfully up, when you start showing like weakness at the top of a trend, people start getting scared. So then as soon as you like take out that with this candle right here, that's like confirmation that we're retracing, because you already took out like the 236, so you can potentially like fib from there. So what that would give us now is, if this pulls back, we would expect like essentially this got the 618 retracement, actually a little bit below. So I would expect again like the bullish retracement, which would be like anywhere from the 382 to the 618 here in this like green micro retracement for essentially like wave 3 of our 1, 2, 3, 4 would come down, basically like potentially down in this area. And like this is super rough. Like I don't really like to put these on here like ahead of time, because I think people sometimes take it like a little too like literally what's going on here. But this would just potentially, just to give you like the idea, we would essentially come down here somewhere in between like the 382, which is basically where we are now, the 0.5, and the 618, or like the previous retracement was just a little bit lower. So we'll just put it right here and assume that's like roughly where we're going. And then typically like this fifth wave would like go to a new high. That's what I was saying about we could potentially come up as high as like the 200 moving averages, one of these two, which would essentially like level out around this area here. But like if we sell off this powerfully, like I don't know if we're gonna be able to get like momentum back to the upside in the same way here. But there is obviously like potential for it. We may just not get like as deep of a retracement. I mean, like realistically, I would expect the retracement to be like more like this, because essentially if that's wave 1, we need like our 4 to stay above the peak of wave 1 on like it's significant time scale, highly leveraged markets. So with this massive wick or this massive wick, we could realistically like see a retracement down like up to like this low. But typically with these retracements, you'll come down and literally like touch tips. Like the tip of one candle will sell off to like the tip of the previous one, and then you'll get that bullish push up, which in this case we're going to get a lot of confluence because like we already sold down to the short-term moving average. That would basically be like the green and the yellow moving average both coming in like right in between the 382 and the 0.5. You know, and that's like literally at the top of this. And oh, there's a couple things I want to touch on here. One, you will notice that I always like use different charts, like I'm back between like Bitstamp or Coinbase or whatever. Like I always watch for one single asset, like multiple exchanges, especially in the crypto space, because a lot of times like the volume will not match up on different exchanges. So when people like come in and say like, oh, the volume signature is not right, or you know, no, there's not enough volume, or this isn't like the volume you would see at the bottom. Like you have to understand, like one, this is not the stock market. Two, there's massive amounts of OTC trading going on. You know, massive amounts of OTC trading going on, and it's impossible to take into account like miners buying and selling pressure, like all these different things. Not to mention, like you could literally have one exchange. We've seen it a million times in the space where one exchange will like start a massive dump, like free fall, like Coinbase will start it or Bitfinex will start it or whatever, and like all the other exchanges just follow. And like because of arbitrage in the markets, like all the exchanges are essentially going to do whatever the volume says to do. So you may not get that same volume signature when you're looking at a chart trying to identify like a pattern if you're just looking at one exchange. So be careful once again who and what you're listening to. Make sure that you look at like the broad picture and you get like the true understanding. And a specific example of that is if you were looking at the Bitstamp chart, we came up exactly to the 618, but if you were looking at the Coinbase chart, we actually like fell short a little bit. We didn't get like quite enough like of a push up to the upside. So that's a perfect example of you know, potentially what could happen here is we could come down here, find a little bit more strength, and then get that push up. You know, meet it on the other exchanges, like potentially double top on like the exchanges that already reached it, and then get a higher high on the like Coinbase that didn't reach it, and then we could potentially get our sell off. Or we could potentially come down here, fully retrace, and then come up, put that, do exactly like I said here, and then you know, sell off from there. And that was like essentially like a wave 5 like failure. But there's a lot of things that could happen. It's important that we pay attention to not only like the indicators and price action, but also like overall sentiment in the market. Once again, here's a specific example of what I was talking about how like you could just tell like the overall sentiment of the market. Like people are just like wishing and hoping. Like we literally just fell from like $10,000 down to like $4,000. We fell from 10,000 to 4,000. Okay? And people were like making up excuses why they were bullish after that fall. And then we went from 4,000 and we couldn't even make it back to 8,000. We couldn't even make it back to 8,000. And people were bullish and saying this is it, this is the bull run, all this stuff. If you zoom out, yes, we are overall in a bull market, bull trend, long term, whatever, on the monthly. Okay? But more importantly, you're not going to be trading the monthly. If you're watching videos on YouTube, you're not trading the monthly. The people that trade the monthly like bought and forgot about it. Like half that Bitcoin is probably lost forever, like the people that are focused on the monthly. This was December of 2017. We've been going down since December of 2017. We're in a downtrend since December of 2017. Yes, there have been relief rallies. There was one relief rally along the way, one substantial one. But this is an overall downtrend. Like, it's great that we're finding support here and we're getting like this relief rally and everything. But more realistically, like, we're probably at this point in time, like, more realistically going to put in a lower low. So I think it's very important right now that people start to like prepare for that. On the monthly scale here, we flipped this over for the first time, like right here. We were selling off for how long before then? So it's not unrealistic to think that we could sell off still down to a new low on these oscillator indicators. Like we got the sell signal here and we sold off for how long to get to the bottom? We're just now getting that cross again right now. And we're already back down here where we started. So it's just, I don't know, with the way the markets are looking and everything. I mean, anything's possible, but at this point in time, what this looks like to me, what this price action looks like, what the oscillator indicator, what everything looks like to me, this is switching over to bearish. This is bearish. We're on a weekly time frame. This looks like to me that we just capitulated a failed rally and put in a lower high, and the market is now accepting that off of that dump, off of that sell-off now, we tried to rally back up and get back above that key support slash resistance. Support all through here, broke down, resistance, we broke through it like unnaturally easy. Came back up, support, came back up, no support at all. Sold down above it, look, massive resistance now. This is what should have happened probably right back here. This is probably what should have happened. We should have seen something like this where we push up to it, sold off, and then build strength, and it would have looked a lot more organic and been like a lot more like, you know, reasonable or sustainable, or, you know, whatever you want to call it. But the way we sold down through here and found zero support is the same way we sold up, or like moved up through here and found zero, you know, resistance. So now the fact that we're finding resistance at it and can't get above it, I would expect now we're going to sell off and see continuation, and that essentially we're just going to fill out this massive wick down here, and then, you know, basically come down to a new low. Best case scenario, you know, we fall just shy of it and we like basically bounce like the 886, because we already came down past the 786, almost the 886. So we bounce that, come back up, but more realistically, a double bottom or a new low is probably what we're looking at now. And this was like a really, really strong support area at 3K. This is probably where we should have come down to realistically. So, I mean, I think 1200 is starting to look potentially in the cards. Other than that, you know, 2500 area, I don't even know. I don't even want to talk about some of these levels right here. At this point in time, I'm looking for $3,000 as potential area for this market to reverse permanently, like back up to the upside. If that does not happen, we're going to be in big trouble, and we're going to see like true crypto capitulation. So, but that's basically the most basic breakdown and you know, chart analysis of it. We can take a quick look at gold also. I know a lot of people paying attention to precious metals and everything, and it's the exact same situation as Bitcoin now. You know, honestly, their charts are eerily familiar. We basically got like that massive move up here, hit like that 19,000 range, sold off. You know, we basically accumulate forever, and this is a perfect example of people talking about, you know, they don't like chart patterns and this, that, and the other. Like, look, you might not want to use it, or you might not be, you know, good at it or whatever. That's completely fine, but you shouldn't like try to tell people what does and doesn't work. Like, it might not work for you, but that doesn't mean it doesn't work like at all, because this was like probably one of the most epic head and shoulders patterns like I've ever seen in my life. We called this out way back when. Accumulated gold like all through this area here, and then, you know, you basically got, what's your measured move? From the head to the neckline. Everybody's like so bullish on gold and silver for like this big breakout, but it's like, dude, we got it. We got the breakout. We got the measured move. It played out. It played out perfectly. It paid off. You know what I mean? It's done. So now what do I expect to happen? We're going to retrace. And where are we going to retrace to? Probably the breakout. Probably the neckline. The way we broke through that, consolidated, and kept going, you know, it's likely that we're going to come down here and pull back as far as the neckline breakout. And then we can see, like, are we just doing exactly like I said with Bitcoin and putting in a lower high, and we're going to continue down? Because this looks like essentially like a third lower high now. Like, you know, depending on how you want to look at it, but it's like high, low, lower high. What are we going to do? We're going to come down here. We're going to put in a lower low next. But it's important you remember too that, you know, this is a chart and this is paper trading, and, you know, if the economy really is crashing down and it's in as rough a shape as you know, the world economy like may potentially be, like none of this paper stuff matters. Like silver's trading on like paper at like $12, but you know, exchanges and like actual silver right now is selling for like $19 and $20. Like I've seen the markup is like ridiculous, and I think that we'll continue to see, you know, the distinction between, you know, price and value basically. So, but here's our fib. We came down to the 0.5 already. We got our, what do we always say? 2-level bounce, right? So we're 382, 236. We were able to get the breakout above the 236. You know, essentially like that stab up, fake out the market, and then the dump. So now what's going to happen? 2 up, 1 down, right? 2 up, 1 down. 1 up, 2 up, and then we're going to come back down to the 382. So potentially, like as far as fibs are concerned, what, 1272 is our target. As far as resistance support is concerned, 1388 is our target. As far as like, you know, this right here potentially saving us and continuing to move to the upside, yeah, it's definitely a possibility. I mean, anything's a possibility at this point in time. It's very important that people realize that TA is much less reliable in a situation like this. Like fundamentals had the ability to take over here because like the masses could just freak out. Any kind of like news or anything can just like trigger basically like just a massive effect. So like I said, technical analysis is much less like reliable in situations like this when like psychological effects could be like playing out. But look, we've been in this massive blue uptrend for how long now? That's all of 2019 basically. All right, all 2019 January, and then all 2020, and you know, basically topped out here in March. So how long do we expect that to play out for? I mean, this retracement can play out for months. And realistically, like, it's a proven fact. You know, you look at the charts and analyze it, and typically when we go into a recession or depression, like gold and silver and all assets, real estate, everything dumps off massively in the beginning. And then like over time, once they start bottoming, is when you'll see like the differentiation in like recovery speed, or like proportionate, or like as our cash becomes like hyperinflated and devalued, like the charts may look like parabolic, you know, as you compare like the dollar to certain currencies. But in all reality, like it's important that you take all that into perspective, because if you like chart the, you know, if you chart gold to one currency, like the dollar, we're not at an all-time high. But if you chart that same asset, gold, to like many other different currencies around the world, we are in fact at an all-time high. So it is important to realize that, you know, whatever country you're in or whatever currency you're using, you know, it's still all relative in the same way that an exchange is relative, or like, you know, a price versus like a value is relative. Because at some point in time, like, you know, there's going to be more buyers than sellers, like in physical assets like gold and silver, and price is not going to reflect like the value. Like to somebody, if cash is like hyperinflating, you know, on a daily basis and becoming worth less and less money, like the charts may tell you, the exchanges may tell you, oh, physical gold is worth, you know, $1,500 an ounce, but people may be willing to pay $3,000 an ounce, knowing that when they wake up tomorrow, gold might cost $5,000 an ounce or $10,000 an ounce. So essentially, that's where like safe haven assets and stuff like that come into effect, and that's when eventually we're going to see like the decoupling of, you know, Bitcoin and you know, any cryptos that do survive through this like series of unfortunate events. But I think that's when we're truly going to see like, you know, Bitcoin serve its purpose, you know, decoupling and becoming like, you know, not necessarily a store of value in the way that it has become, but, you know, like a functional like part of like a monetary system that cannot be like corrupted. But even now, you know, like it was created to be that originally, but by creating things like Tether and stablecoins and like lack of regulations, like all that is just like another central bank. So like, have we already gotten to the point now where crypto has failed because it's become corrupt? Like one might argue yes. So you know, but you know, it is what it is. I still believe in it. I like to think that, you know, somehow you know, it's all going to come to fruition and everything. But in all reality, we have to like fully understand that there is definitely a possibility that Bitcoin is basically like the technology that will birth the future, but that Bitcoin might not be like the actual future. And honestly, like things like Tether and, you know, the basically like proof that they're just printing unlimited amounts of tether the same way like the Federal Reserve is printing. Federal Reserves around the world are printing unlimited amounts of cash. Like, what's the difference? None. There is no difference. So in all reality, like, did Bitcoin fail? Yeah, maybe it did. Maybe it did. It was corrupted, by man, by greed. So maybe whatever comes next, we'll have all of the important principles of Bitcoin, but also like, incorruptible in the way that, we haven't discovered yet. So, well, there you have it, guys. That's our crypto and Bitcoin market updates. Fib levels being very well respected, as well as moving averages. At this point in time, though, I think it's possible we could get one more thrust up, and potentially see, that fifth wave before a retracement down to, respectable fib level of the entire 5-wave structure, or potentially even a new lower low. But at this point in time, we're just keeping our eye on the charts and paying attention here. I'm not convinced that that was like the tippity top, and we're just going to be dumping off from here in Bitcoin markets. I think a lot of times what happens is, just like I was saying, this is like a distribution pattern. You break out all these altcoins, they start like putting in massive gains. Bitcoin breaks out afterwards, then the altcoins keep pumping, then the altcoins start selling off like massively. That money goes back into Bitcoin, and you get like a final like thrust that you might not see follow through in the same way on the altcoins, and then we can see like that selling off continue, and see where the market's headed from there. But everything is playing out just like we discussed, guys. Crypto Trend Trader with your daily market update, and I'm out of here.